The hidden power of human awareness is one of those topics that sounds harmless at first, like something you'd casually bring up while sipping coffee and pretending to understand life. Awareness, you say, nodding wisely as if you didn't just spend 20 minutes scrolling your phone for absolutely no reason. But the moment you actually try to look at it closely, really closely, something strange happens. The floor of reality starts to feel slightly unstable. Not dramatically, not enough to panic, just enough to make you wonder if you've been standing on something you never fully examined. Because awareness is weird, not a little unusual weird, not quirky personality trait weird. I mean fundamentally, deeply, structurally weird. The kind of weird that doesn't scream. It just quietly sits in the corner of existence and watches everything. Right now, as you're reading this, there is something aware of these words. Not your eyes, not your brain cells individually. Something else. Something that knows you are here, reading, thinking, reacting. That something is so familiar that you've probably never questioned it seriously. It's like air. You don't think about it until someone points it out. And then suddenly breathing feels suspicious. So let's do something dangerous. Let's actually look at it.
Okay.
Close your eyes for a second, not literally unless you want to bump into something, but imagine it. Thoughts are still there. Sounds are still there. Maybe your brain is already trying to escape this exercise by remembering a random song from 2007. But behind all of that, there is a kind of silent presence, a background, a space where everything appears. That's awareness. And here's the first unsettling detail. You don't control it. You can't turn it off. You can't step outside of it. You can't even find its edges. It's just there. Always there. Like a screen that never shuts down. Even when the movie gets confusing, boring, or slightly embarrassing. Now here's where things get interesting. Awareness doesn't just observe your thoughts. It also observes the idea of you. That's right. The version of yourself you think you are. Your personality, your preferences, your identity, that's all content inside awareness. It's like a character in a show that believes it's the viewer, which raises a deeply uncomfortable question. If you can observe your thoughts and your emotions and even your sense of self, then who exactly is doing the observing? Don't answer too quickly. Your brain will try to give you something like, well, it's me, obviously. But that's not an answer. That's just pointing to the same mystery and giving it a name tag. So, let's explore some possibilities. Because humans love possibilities, especially the kind that sound slightly unhinged but might secretly be true. Theory number 1. Awareness is just a byproduct of the brain. Neurons firing, signals processing, patterns emerging. Enough complexity and boom, you get consciousness. Simple, except not really. Because no matter how much we study the brain, we can't find the point where experience appears. We can map activity. We can predict behavior. But the feeling of being, of actually experiencing anything, remains unexplained. It's like trying to find the exact moment a pile of wires becomes a thought. Good luck with that. So some people say, fine, maybe awareness isn't produced by the brain. Maybe it's something more fundamental. Theory number 2. Awareness is like a field. Like gravity, it exists everywhere, and the brain just interacts with it. Like a receiver, tuning into a signal, which is a fascinating idea until you realize it implies awareness might exist without you, just floating around, waiting, observing, possibly bored. Now imagine this: what if awareness isn't something you have? What if it's something you are? Not your thoughts, not your personality, not your history, just pure awareness itself. The silent observer behind everything. Sounds peaceful, right? It can be, until your brain panics and says, wait, if I'm not my thoughts, then what am I doing here? Excellent question. Let's make it worse.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed that thoughts just appear? You don't choose them in advance. You don't sit down and say, yes, I will now think about that awkward moment from 5 years ago. No, it just happens. Thoughts pop in like uninvited guests, rearrange the furniture, and sometimes leave emotional damage behind. So, if you're not choosing your thoughts, who is? Is there a hidden manager in your brain? A tiny CEO making decisions? Or is the whole system just happening? Now here's where awareness shows its hidden power. Even if you can't control your thoughts, you can notice them. And that changes everything. Because the moment you become aware of a thought, you create a tiny space between you and it. It's no longer you, it's something you're observing. And in that space, something interesting happens. The thought loses a bit of its power. It's like watching a scary movie and suddenly remembering, oh, right, this is a movie. The monster is still there, but it's less convincing. This is the first real hint of awareness's hidden power. Not control, not domination, but perspective. You don't have to fight every thought. You don't have to believe every emotion. You can just see them. And that's surprisingly effective. Now let's go deeper.
Okay.
Because why not?
Okay.
We've already come this far.
Okay.
What if awareness doesn't just observe reality? What if it shapes it? Not in a magical, you can manifest anything instantly way. Calm down. Your fridge will not refill itself. But in a subtler sense, the way you perceive something influences how it affects you. Two people can experience the same event and have completely different realities. One sees disaster, the other sees opportunity. The external situation is identical. The internal experience is completely different, which means reality, as you experience it, is not just out there. It's co-created by awareness. Now imagine scaling that idea up. What if collective awareness, billions of human minds interacting, actually influences the direction of the world? Culture, trends, beliefs, systems, all shaped by what people pay attention to, what they believe, what they fear. In that sense, awareness isn't passive. It's quietly powerful. It's the invisible force behind decisions, actions, and entire civilizations. Which is slightly terrifying when you realize how often awareness is distracted. Let's be honest. A large portion of human awareness is currently occupied by notifications, memes, and trying to remember why we opened the fridge. So yes, awareness is powerful, but it's also easily hijacked. And that's where things get interesting again. Because if awareness can be distracted, it can also be redirected. You can choose, at least sometimes, what you pay attention to. And that choice, small as it seems, changes your experience. Focus on fear, and the world feels dangerous. Focus on curiosity, and the same world becomes fascinating. Focus on problems, and everything looks like a mess. focus on possibilities, and suddenly things open up. Awareness doesn't change reality itself, but it changes your relationship to it. And that might be even more important. Now, here comes the slightly unsettling part again. What if awareness is not limited to humans? What if animals have their own forms of awareness? Probably. That seems reasonable. But what if awareness exists in ways we don't even recognize? In systems, in patterns, in structures? Okay, maybe not your toaster. Let's not get carried away. But still, the idea that awareness might be more widespread than we think is hard to completely dismiss. And if that's true, then reality might not be a collection of dead objects. It might be something more alive. Not in the obvious sense, but in a subtle, interconnected way. Now, before this turns into a full philosophical meltdown, let's come back to something simple. You are aware, right now, of these words, of your thoughts about these words, of your reaction to the ideas. That's not theoretical, that's direct. And whatever awareness is, however it works, wherever it comes from, you are experiencing it, which makes you part of the mystery, not separate from it. And maybe that's the most important point. We often think of awareness as something we need to figure out, solve, define, but maybe it's not a problem to solve. Maybe it's something to explore, to notice, to play with. Because when you start paying attention to awareness itself, life changes in subtle ways. You become less trapped in automatic reactions, less overwhelmed by every passing thought, more curious, more present, not perfectly calm, not permanently enlightened. Let's stay realistic, but a little more aware, and that's enough to shift things. So what is the hidden power of human awareness? It's not control over the universe. It's not some secret superpower that turns you into a cosmic wizard. It's something quieter, more subtle, but still powerful. It's the ability to observe, to step back, to see without immediately reacting, to notice that your thoughts are not always facts, to realize that your experience is not fixed. It's shaped, moment by moment, by where your awareness goes. And maybe, just maybe, that's the beginning of understanding something much bigger. Because the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes that reality is not as simple as it seems. It's layered, it's strange, it's full of things we don't yet understand. And awareness, whatever it truly is, seems to be at the center of it all. So instead of rushing to define it, maybe the better move is to stay curious, to keep asking, to keep exploring. Because if awareness is this mysterious, this powerful, this fundamental, then we've barely scratched the surface. And whatever comes next is probably going to be even stranger, even more fascinating, and just a little bit mind-blowing.